Economic activity is like the heartbeat of a nation, a rhythm that dictates the pace of progress, prosperity, and even policy. Imagine for a moment a bustling town square, a marketplace alive with the sounds of traders, buyers, and the clinking of coins. This vibrant scene represents the core of economic activity, the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. But how do we capture this dynamism on a national scale? How do we measure something as vast and varied as an economy? It starts with gross domestic product, or GDP, a term that often dominates economic discussions. Picture GDP as a colossal ledger recording the value of all goods and services produced within a country over a specific period. Whether it's the coffee brewed in local cafes, the cars manufactured in sprawling factories, or the services rendered by a software company, GDP accounts for them all. But like any measurement, it has its nuances. A nation's GDP can be calculated in three ways. The output method focuses on production, the expenditure method on spending, and the income method on earnings. Together, these approaches weave a comprehensive story of an economy's scale and scope. Let me share the story of two countries to illustrate GDP's importance. Consider country A, where factories hum with activity, exports are booming, and consumer spending is strong. Its GDP growth is a steady 4% annually. Now imagine country B, plagued by political instability, where industries are closing and unemployment is rising. Its GDP has contracted by 2%. These figures are more than numbers. They are snapshots of economic vitality or struggle. They tell us where resources are thriving and where intervention is needed. Yet, GDP alone doesn't tell the full story. Think about an island nation with a bustling tourism sector but struggling agriculture. GDP may reflect economic activity, but it doesn't capture the uneven distribution of prosperity. This is where variations in economic activity become critical. Economists look at different sectors, agriculture, industry, and services, to understand their contributions and challenges. They also examine regional disparities. A capital city might flourish with business and innovation, while rural areas remain stagnant, creating a tale of two economies within one nation. To deepen the narrative, economists track indicators like unemployment rates, inflation, and trade balances. Imagine a town where factories shut down, leaving workers idle. Unemployment rises, signaling underutilized resources. Or consider a country where prices for everyday goods soar, eroding the purchasing power of households. Inflation tells a story of cost pressures and strained budgets. Together, these indicators provide texture to the broader picture of economic activity. But measuring economic activity isn't just about capturing the present. It's also about predicting the future. Governments and policymakers rely on these measurements to guide decisions. For instance, if GDP growth slows and unemployment rises, a government might introduce fiscal stimulus, such as tax cuts or increased public spending, to reignite the economy. Central banks, on the other hand, monitor inflation to decide whether to raise or lower interest rates, aiming to maintain price stability and foster growth. However, the tools we use to measure economic activity are not without flaws. Picture a factory churning out goods that pollute rivers, or a nation depleting its natural resources to boost exports. GDP measures the output, but ignores the environmental cost. Similarly, GDP growth can mask inequalities. A booming stock market might inflate GDP figures, yet the benefits may accrue to only a small segment of the population, leaving others behind. This has led to a push for alternative measures like the Human Development Index, HDI, or Gross National Happiness, GNH, which consider well-being alongside economic output. To bring this closer to home, imagine your own community. What economic activities drive growth where you live? Perhaps it's the small businesses on your street, the schools and hospitals that provide essential services, or the industries that shape the local landscape. These activities reflect the unique economic pulse of your region, contributing to the larger story of your country's economy. Now, consider how these activities have changed over time during periods of economic boom or recession, during crises like the COVID-19 pandemic, or during technological shifts that redefine industries. Economic activity and its variations are not abstract concepts. They are the threads that weave the fabric of our daily lives. They determine the jobs we pursue, the prices we pay, and the opportunities we encounter. Measuring these dynamics allows us to understand where we stand and where we're headed. It enables us to identify challenges and craft solutions, to balance efficiency with equity, and to ensure that progress benefits all. So, the next time you hear about GDP growth, inflation rates, or employment statistics, remember the stories they tell. They are not just figures on a page, they are reflections of human effort, ingenuity, and resilience. They are the pulse of an economy, beating to the rhythm of every transaction, every innovation, and every decision made in the marketplace of life.